Okay, so this is lesson 6, and we're going to go over some formatting with you. And this is going to cover a bunch of different things, so it may take more than one video, so there may be part 2 or part 3. So the first thing I want to go over is CSS, which means Cascading Style Sheets. And this is used to format your web page. And there's 2 different ways to use CSS. CSS is most commonly used in a separate file, and then it's called into action in your HTML file. But I'm not going to go over that yet because it's going to be a little bit too complicated for where we're at in our lessons. So what we're going to teach you now is how to use CSS directly in the HTML file that you're working on. Alright, so this file that I have open here is our index, the one that we've been working on, and I deleted all the images that we had in here before because we're not going to need those for this lesson. Alright, so the first thing I want to go over is how we're going to change our background of our web page. Alright, so as you see now, my background is white. The background has always been white on our web page, and now we have a way to change it. Okay, so what we're going to work on first is, remember I told you in the head, this head tag, there's a lot of things that can go in a head tag. Well, I'm about to show you one that will go in between these head tags. Okay, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of space here, just so it's easier to see. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background color of the web page. Alright, so to use CSS, we need to tell the browser that we're about to use CSS in a similar way that we told the browser that we're going to be using HTML. Alright, so the way that we do that is we're going to start a style tag. Alright, so it's just like we start any other tag, except this time we're going to write style, and then space, and then type. We're going to tell it the type of style we're using, which is CSS. Okay, and it's going to be text / CSS. Alright, and in quotes. Remember, we always do attributes in quotes, and this is an attribute. Alright, and then we're going to close that tag. Alright, so this is telling it that anything that comes after this tag is going to be CSS, and it's going to be text, obviously, because we're typing it. Alright, so it's going to tell everything after this tag is going to be CSS. Now, writing CSS is a little bit different than writing HTML, and I'll show you why. Basically, because not everything's in a tag. Okay, so we're going to change the background. And since the background is the body of the web page, we're going to tell the CSS body right here. Okay, so body, then we're going to do a little space, and then curly brackets, which isn't used in HTML, but it is used in CSS. Okay, so curly brackets, and since we're going to change the background color, it's just background, and then the minus sign, which I call a tag symbol, so tag color. Alright, so very straightforward. We're going to change the background color, so we type in background color, and then a colon. Alright, so in basic HTML, we usually use greater than less than for tags, but in CSS we're using the curly brackets, and then we usually use an equal sign to define an attribute, and this time we're using a colon. Alright, so it's similar to HTML, but it is a little bit different. Alright, so let's type in the color that we want, and you can type in just the regular English color, so like red, black, green, blue, and it'll do red, black, green, blue. So we're going to do red, okay, and then with CSS, when you're done with that attribute, you're going to put a colon. Oops. So that colon right there, or semicolon rather, and that's going to put, let it know that we're done with this particular attribute. Right? And then we're going to close the curly bracket. Right? And then after that, we need to close the style tag. Right? And to close the style tag, just like you close any other HTML tag, just close style. Alright, and that tag right here, this set, is going to tell it to change the background color to red. Alright, this little blurb right here. Alright, so we did this open style tag, telling it it's going to be CSS. We did the little CSS language to tell it to change the background color to red. And then we closed the style tag. And all this is done between the 2 head tags. Okay? So let's save this. Check out our website. We'll go over here and we'll refresh. And you see it changed our background to red. Alright, now there's another key point with colors. There's almost an infinite amount of colors or mixtures of colors that you can use on the internet. Now back in the day, there was only a few colors that browsers would understand or actually show. But now browsers will show almost an infinite amount of colors, and there's too many colors to actually give them all names. Okay, so there's one thing that you need to realize is a lot of colors are actually numbers. And I'll show you where you can go to find these colors. Alright, so I went ahead and pulled up this part on Google. And what I Googled was just HTML color chart, and this is usually like the first one that comes up, but it's from w3schools.com. Alright, now I bookmarked this page once I get there, because this is a very good page to learn from. Alright, so I would bookmark this immediately, But the web address is w3schools.com/html/colornames.asp. Okay, so make sure you save that page. It's really good, and I'll show you why. Once you get here, it's going to give you a list of some basic colors. Okay, and these are the code numbers that you need to change the color. All right, and I'll get into that in more detail in just a second. But what I would recommend is if you want, just go right over here and click on the first mix. It doesn't matter which mix link you click on, they're all the same. And it's going to bring up these two color wheels. Alright, and then you can choose a color here. Let's choose this blue color. And then you can choose a color down here. And then from those two choices that you made, it's going to give you a range. Everywhere from this color all the way down to this color. Alright, so it gives you everything in between. Alright, and it also gives you the code for the particular shade that it corresponds to. Alright, and that's important. So let's say we like this color right here. Alright, so that's 7361AB. Right, and you can see that right here, 7361AB. So let's change our background color to that. So instead of red, where we put red, we're going to put number 7361AB. Alright, and let's save that. And then we're going to go back to our page, which is right here. Refresh, and you can see it changed it to that particular color. Right? And so this is what this web page is great about. I would bookmark this site absolutely to pick colors, because you can come out with almost an infinite number of colors, and they all come with their own codes to let you know exactly what code to put in for that particular shade. And you also use this code when you're changing text fonts or adding color to any part of your website or any part of your text or any background. They all use these codes here. Okay. Okay, so let's say you don't want to use a color and you want to insert a background image. Alright, so I'm just going to take out this part of the CSS tag and we're going to put in a background image. Alright, and remember this is still between my style tags that I had originally. Alright, and it's still going in the body, so I'm still typing body, curly brackets, and this time I'm going to do background, I got to spell it right, background image. Okay, and then the colon, and then URL, because that means like a source, that's where I'm going to tell it to go. Alright, and then without doing a space, I'm going into a bracket, parentheses, and then remember, just like we do everything else, in quotes, and then the image that I'm going to use is going to be the images folder. Remember, images. So just like we put an image on the page, we do the same file name and everything the same way. Alright, slash the file name, which I'm going to use a picture of my dog again. Alright, Sophie2.jpg, and then close the quotes, close the parentheses, and then remember the same way when we're done with an attribute, we put a semicolon. Alright, so it's semicolon right here, and then close the brackets. Alright, and that's how you put an image as your background. Alright, so we're going to save that. Go over here and check out our website, and you can see that it put the picture as the background of the web page. So any text that we do will go right here on top. Now what's important to realize is that if your picture is too small, then it's just going to repeat itself. Okay, and you can see how the picture begins to repeat itself here, and it will do that up and down. Alright, so it'll repeat itself this way and repeat itself this way. Now I don't typically use images as my background, and the reason for that is it causes the browser to have to load this image over and over for your background, and this can really slow down how fast your site loads. So I typically always stay with colors, unless there's a small image that I can use that repeats very well, but typically all the websites I design, I use colors. I'd say about 80% of the time I use colors. And if I do use an image, it's a very small image, it's not an actual picture, it's some sort of design that can be repeated without seeing a seam right here. So like if it was just a black line and a white line, it repeats very well and it gives you a black-white stripe all the way up and down the page. So that's